Nerd on the Podcast is proudly partnered with Apogee Electronics and Odyssey Headphones, leaders in the field of audio.
In this final chapter, Marty McFly, played by Michael J. Fox, obtains a 70-year-old message from the time-traveling 70-year-old massage.
From Doc Brown. Things get steamy in the DeLorean. Hello, and welcome to Nerd on the Podcast. You didn't need, but you deserve, where all levels of nerd are welcome.
Yeah, you are.
We back. Again.
Like the movie.
For the third film, for our 3-year anniversary, we're going to be talking about Back to the Future 3. But before we get into all that business, we should probably say who the hosts are. I'm Caitlin.
And I'm Tom.
And I'm Ali.
And I'm Corey.
And I'm Josh. And this episode is brought to you in part by the members of the Nerd On Nation that is powered by a Patreon.
Patreon.
As a member of the Nerd On As a member of the Nerd On Nation, you do get fun perks like you get early access to these episodes. You get bonus episodes that nobody else hears. You get discounts on merch. You get early access to merch. You get access to secret channels on our Discord server. It's a lot of fun over there. The Nerd On Nation allows us to keep on growing, keep on doing the thing, and we appreciate you all.
Creating.
Really
do check that out,
baby.
nerdon.tv/Patreon, and check out that Discord, nerdon.tv/Discord. And a huge shout out to our partners in crime, our partners Apogee Electronics and Odyssey Headphones. They are just...
If we're arrested, contact them.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
Guilty by association.
They're our emergency contact.
They are our emergency contact. As you can,
Apogee.
if you are watching on YouTube, Tom is showing the beautiful cases that come with both. They are quality products, Apogee Electronics. The Hype mic is specifically what we are using. It's a wonderful microphone, and I highly suggest it for anything if you're going to be creating digital content. It even plugs into your phone, as Corey pointed out in the last episode.
Yeah,
so
Instagram Reels are real hot right now, baby.
Yeah.
You know we want to get that influencer hype.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Hype.
And Odyssey
Hold on.
headphones.
If you want to hear that awesome Instagram Reel and TikTok.
As we have said before, if your ears were mouths, they taste like butter. The sound is nice and smooth. The human voice just sounds wonderful in it. Anything really sounds
And
wonderful
also,
in it.
if you have sensitive ass ears, they
The
fit
cups.
real nice. They feel real good for you. Right, Ollie?
Yes.
Good.
It's just a single.
He's like,
Yes.
Yeah.
yes.
All headphones aren't great, but these ones are particularly non-disturbing.
Wow. What a vague surface
Yes.
level
I don't know how else to
explanation.
put it.
Yes.
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 But yeah, that is the housekeeping on. And let us go back. Way back.
Way back.
To the
way
past.
Yeah, back to
technically.
the past. For Back to the Future.
Back
Yeah.
in time.
100 years.
So excited because I finally get to talk about my theory.
Okay, cool. So if you have been keeping up with us with our anniversary, you know at the end of this episode, we are going to rate it from 0 to 5. And that brings us to our first segment right now, which is going to be Guess That Grum. Dun, 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 dun.
It could be Tom, but maybe not. It's Corey, maybe Ollie or Josh. Not me.
And there's horses and guns, and it's the
not
West, and
bad.
don't drink alcohol.
Not bad at all.
And there's a clown.
If you're brand new to the show, what are you doing listening to the third episode? But also welcome.
Wow.
So Guess That Grump is customarily part of all of the episodes where we get to rate something that's completed finished product.
Yes. That. Oh, sorry.
So we're gonna go around the digital screens if you're watching on YouTube. If you aren't, and no matter how high the number is, the lowest one of the group will be the grump for the week.
Yes.
So I will go first because I did not change that at all. That's what I wrote on the script, and that's how I meant to say it. And the grump for this episode will be Corey.
Corey. Okay.
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 Who next? Caitlin, Ali, Josh.
You know, this is an audio show, guys.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with
It's
Josh.
a lot of thinking. A lot of thinking's happening right
So
now.
say that.
No.
something.
I think.
I instantly regret it, but I'm gonna go with Josh.
Caitlin.
Corey.
Okay. And the Nerd On Nation. Can we talk about that? Let me guess first, though. I will say. Fuck it. I'll say Ali.
Hell yeah.
Okay.
Back to
All right.
form.
I'll take it. Back to form.
Back to form. So, what is the word, the gospel of the patrons?
Oh, the Gospel of the Patient. So if you don't know, become a part of the Nerd On Nation, and you get to vote on things like who the grump is in our episode. And if you're correct, you get a shout out on the episode. Having said that, our Nerd On Nation has spoken.
Oh.
And Ali, they think you are going to be the grump.
Okay.
Okay.
Return to form indeed.
Tom with no votes.
Yeah.
Tom with no votes, which is, I can't believe I'm saying it. I'm going to say it a third time. Tom with no votes.
Wow.
Then we have Caitlin or Josh, and then it's down to me and Ali at the end there.
Okay.
And that's the spread, baby. Place your bets.
Let's do it.
Can we just say it
Alright,
one more
so-
time? Tom has no vote.
Tom has no votes.
Hey.
How did that happen?
Hey. what-
Hey.
Hey.
So now the
I-
complete spoiler to that.
The complete
First
spoiler.
impressions.
Also, Caitlin and everyone who's like, Tom, no votes. I talk about so many faults in movies all the time. I still give it 5s. Anyways, so the complete spoiler of that, which is going to be our initial reactions and our first impressions, give you a little bit of a sneak peek of what actually our numbers might be. Again, this is spoiler-free territory, a spoiler-free timeline.
Yes.
Josh, go first since
first.
you.
Oh,
Okay.
Josh goes first.
I'm have to
Because I said so.
Yeah.
Because Tom said so, and he has no vote. So it's I got to do it.
He has the power here.
He's the power.
I'm the no vote boy. I'm the one who votes.
Until
Yeah.
recently, I thought that I was the only one that liked this one. Like I had heard, I'd
We'll give
had
you that,
conversations with people of like, oh, Back to the Future
Part
3.
Easy.
Like I
easy,
think we actually
easy.
had
Everyone's
a
entitled to their opinion.
well, we had a we had a
No, he-
past
he
episode
spoke
where
like that.
somebody was quite
I met him.
opinionated off the microphone about how much they did not like this movie, and I thought that was
I told
like
you that
the-
in confidence, you bitch.
no no
No.
so and just conversations with other people, I just thought that I was the only person that liked this movie. I really like this movie.
In the zeitgeist, it definitely feels like this is the one that everyone like. This is the redheaded stepchild.
But then like looking it up, doing my research and all that kind of stuff, seeing that it has a pretty high
watching
rating,
it.
and I'm like, whoa. So I
not
was living in this
alone.
I was living in this ghost world or whatever that no, people like this movie and I'm validated. No, when I
Yeah.
first saw it,
yeah, we get it. You're George McFly. We get it.
I really enjoyed this movie, like because I like the idea of going back to the West. I thought that was such a really cool, and I grew up on Westerns, and it was just such a fun, it was a jaunty romp in a Western world and something that I already love. So like Back to the Future, and then
Brief
you put it,
synopsis brought to you by Josh.
and then you put it in the West. I'm like, I love it. I love it. I love this movie.
Yeah. I mean, he's playing out a fantasy of ours, which is like, or of anyone who's like,
Not for
you wanna
me.
live in the, or and people who like, you want
Yeah.
to live in the past. You want to be a cowboy. You
Not
want to
for me.
just like be part of that. For the other people listening, Tom,
For the
They might have
non-railroad making
cowboy-
folk.
I was going to
Sure.
say, for the
Fantasies.
white people listening.
I saw Shanghai Noon. Did you? That seems more realistic.
Shanghai Moon.
Shanghai
That's
Moon.
coming.
but he's playing out that like Western fantasy of he just like you're disconnected from technology, even though he still makes a fridge or whatever.
A single
It was just-
ice cube.
Yeah, single ice cube.
Yeah, it makes an ice maker.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I liked it. It sounds like Ali is going to jump
I was
on.
like, sounds like Ali wanted
Yeah,
to jump in.
sounds
there.
like
well,
Ollie's
I
already
had a comment to
squeaking
throw
in
in, and
there.
then Tom.
Sounds like
Ali,
Ali
why don't
wants
you
to
go
go.
next? Ali,
I have no votes. You go.
yet let ye who has no votes cast the first stone.
Very good. So I mean, I love this movie. It's you taking your favorite characters that you know and love for 2 movies, and you put them into a whole new scenario that they don't know how to deal with, and you watch them deal with it. It's not as it doesn't feel as high. I mean, of course it has high stakes, but it doesn't feel as high stakes through most of it, or through the beginning parts, at least, where you're like, you can just kind of be with Doc and be with Marty. And then very quickly, like, that changes. And I just really like the sort of, it felt very reminiscent of one, but it had enough in it to be different and to be about different things that, be about love and about growth as a person and all these things. And, which I really dug. So it felt like a really great bookend to the trilogy in that sense.
It is different. It is definitely different from the rest of them. I have some issues with I have more issues with this than I do with the others. I'll say that.
Okay.
Having said that, this movie also has some of my favorite parts of the trilogy in it as well. So it's a tough balance between the two.
Really high highs and really low lows.
Exactly. Yeah. Having said that, it is still part of the Back to the Future franchise, and it is still one of my favorite trilogies of all time.
It is not ruined by Crystal Skull aliens.
Right. No one got in there. No one got in there and flipped the entire thing on its head. It's still pretty true to the spirit of the films and all that kind of thing.
They weren't
obviously was filmed back to back with number 2. So there's some, like, again, some of my favorite things that are nods in 2 that no one knew was coming, foreshadowing what's happening in this film. So having said that, I really enjoyed this film.
Caitlin?
Very cool.
I liked it.
Ooh, that means she liked it more than the second one.
Maybe.
Is that?
Yeah, because she came out the pocket. Which I liked it. It's like, boom, okay, done.
It. I mean, okay, there's like the Jules Verne kind of steampunky parts, the Western, the
sniper rifle.
That was really fucking cool.
It's an exotic.
I loved the clock tower involvement. I'll vague surface level say.
Spoilers.
I didn't say nothing.
Go on,
I just said involvement as vague as humanly possible. I just love how it ties everything together, and it could have done more, but it left it in a place where it's like, I don't need to know anymore. Like, I feel like this is the full extent of the hijinks that I want to be involved in for this. So it ended things well.
Yeah. Well, the filmmaker, I think, really makes a statement at the end of this film.
Yes,
like,
they
this
do.
Is done.
They're like, we done now. This is it.
And then here's
more.
an animated show licensed by Universal.
Yeah.
But it's like, but then still.
Yeah. Although I will go on record saying Bob Zemeckis has said that as long as he's alive, it was in his contract that they cannot make or reboot Back to the Future movies.
You're making all the Marvel fanboys fucking cry
Long live
right now.
Zemeckis.
Him and Bob Gale, as long as it's in their contracts, as long as they're living, and it's in their wishes that their estates do the same, they do not reboot this franchise.
I was gonna say, give me the rights for it, and I'll continue it. I'll say, as long as I'm alive, no one can make it. Like, there has to be this line of contracts, like, hey, as long as I'm alive, no one can touch it.
Except for you.
Because there is that, like, to me, and I think there's a point of, like, David Barry from the Crusaders and I have talked about fan entitlement, and everyone's like, what if fucking Tom Holland was Marty and Robert Downey Jr. was Doc? And I'm like,
it would be terrible. It would be fucking terrible.
Just fucking stop.
I'll tell you that right now.
Everything Marvel into, like, the things that we can just keep by itself. The classics can stay classic.
Yeah, let them be classics.
Yeah.
Let us still enjoy them as classics.
Yeah, and you couldn't
Robert
do
Downey
it.
Jr.'s Doc is no.
And That's nothing against Robert Downey Jr. at all, and he would probably say the same thing.
Honestly,
Yeah,
I think
he
it's a
would
lot
100%.
of. There's very few movies that penetrate pop culture besides, like, comic book movies. So I
The
think it's
only
probably
person who could do it is Jim Carrey.
I would say there's much
I think it's
more
a lack
movies
of
than comic book
reference.
movies that penetrate.
the
Technically,
only one who can pull off that.
comic book movies are
over-the-top
just like the
Doc
new
shit.
kid on the block that want to be included in everything. They're the Spider-Man meme of, why do you guys keep acting like you're better than me?
Yeah.
And then you
part of
see
me is like,
Godfather,
there's
you see
lack of-
Jaws, and then you see Back to the Future.
Yeah. There's a lack of references, I think.
Tom?
For me, I, as a child, loved this film for all the wrong reasons. And as an adult, I still love it for all the wrong reasons, but still like it for a lot of the right reasons. In terms of storytelling,
I was
think,
waiting for that turn of like, and as an adult, I appreciate it in a new and refreshing way. And you're like, nope, it's all the wrong reasons still.
I love Hollywood's interpretation of the West in that time era and how fucking wrong it is.
Yeah.
Did you know, factually speaking, most cowboys, like real cowboys, not like gunslingers, but cowboys who herded cows and did that were actually black. Most of them weren't white.
And that's why I just love the
Hollywood says they
90s,
are.
90s and early or 90s and 80s version of Western or cowboys, and it's just like so glorified and romanticized. And it's
No one wants
fun.
to talk about the black shits, Tom.
Yeah.
No one wants to talk about cholera.
And
You could die pooping.
and
in
how
an outhouse.
and how
Oh.
everyone in that movie has a full set of teeth. That's crazy.
Yeah.
But
And not
it's
terrible
just-
looking teeth too.
Even though they remark on his.
Yeah, it's like, look at
Probably
Pearl. It's like, yours are kind of fine teeth.
Okay,
Um,
but just a quick side note, that voice, that like Western crackly,
Pat Buttram is his name.
yes.
He's in like,
that-
I think, over 100 Western films.
I wouldn't be surprised because he's perfect. He's
Yeah.
a perfect angel baby, and I love him and his voice.
But
Anyway,
no,
please
I
continue, Tom.
enjoy that there's finality. If anything, that's one of its crowning achievements for me. I think to Josh's point, and to Ollie's point, it really does kind of, to me, feels a little bit of back to, I hate to say it, but back to like the first version of the
form
film where
feature.
it's like we're going to a place and we're stuck there.
Back
And
to formula.
I didn't say that.
Back to.
I
Well,
didn't
it's
say
also
it. Yeah, I mean, if Willem Dafoe was on the show, then he probably would say that. But I really enjoy that they're stuck, and we have to try to figure out how to get out of here. And also, you get kind of just get a little bit more of the vibe of being where they're at for the most of the film. But also, talking
Yeah.
about that like stupid Hollywood romanticization of the West, like having the subversion of things as Marty goes through, and that's as much spoilery shit I'm going to say. So I
would
really
like
enjoy it.
to I would like to publicly apologize if I offended anybody with my interpretation of I do, because I mean,
Nasally.
just to the point, just what my point that I'm having, that I'm wanting to say is that my interaction with this film, as in terms of communication with other people, has always been very negative. And
Yeah.
negative, not like opinionated, like let's have a conversation.
Yeah,
mean
right.
negative. So it's like, I
Gotcha.
apologize if I
No,
have
you don't need to
PTSD from that.
Josh, I wanna,
Way to be way too fucking nice, Josh.
I'm the resident like most McAsshole person, and for me, I like to not take away people's joy, but I also like when people
Do you
try to
not?
shit on other people's joy, then to be the bully and tell
Right.
them why they're fucking stupid. Instead of, you know what I mean? Like there's gotta be that
Yeah.
checks and balances. So if someone ever like tries to be like, oh, you like that movie and you're dumb, then you are the worst kind of person. But if it's kind of the person that's like, oh, this is shitty, and then you talk shit to that guy who's just shitting on everything, I like you. Good person. It's
Sorry,
standing-
what was the difference between the two?
one person shits on other
I
people's
thought you were going to
joy.
say, but if you're someone who actually has points about a movie, then
Well,
Option
discussion
3
is great.
and just
So, Corey,
walk away
let's-
and go
let's-
watch that movie again.
Corey, if someone was just shitting all over Lord of the Rings, and
Yeah.
to you to make you feel bad, they're a shitty person.
Right,
But if
yeah.
I start shitting on that guy who's shitting on Lord of the Rings,
it's all the same situation. I understand. I thought you were marking two different situations.
No, no,
and
no.
I was like,
But
I didn't
but
follow.
another important situation to also bring up is if someone is talking about something they love and you immediately shit on it because you didn't like it, don't do that. That's also a dick move.
get the
Yeah.
fuck out of my feed.
have a discussion
that's what we
about
say
it.
on
But
Twitter.
also,
Yes.
number 4, if you're shitting on the Lord of the Rings, how does it feel to be so fucking wrong in life?
There's that.
It must really suck to be you.
But now,
Oh
so
my.
moving on to that, past that public service announcement, we're going to
Yes.
move on to the next two parts, which are going to be our brief synopsis and our production. And the brief synopsis will be brought to you by me. And I'm just going to read it off the internet. You can Google it yourself. There's not going to be a spoilery thing. At least I hope not. We'll find out. In this final chapter, Marty McFly, played by Michael J. Fox, obtains a 70-year-old message from the time traveling 70-year-old massage.
From Doc Brown, things get steamy in the DeLorean.
Back
He
to
is
the-
loose.
Back to the masseuse. Anyways, so 70-year-old message from the time traveling Doc Emmett Brown, played by Christopher Lloyd, in which he informs Marty that he has retired to a small town in the Old West. Marty then finds out that Doc was murdered shortly after sending the letter. In order to save his friend, Marty will have to travel back in time, disentangle a love-struck entanglement.
Marty.
The original entanglement. A love-struck Doc from a local school marm. School Marm, that's the name, a local school, it's a bad guy, and repaired the DeLorean, all while avoiding a posse of gunslingers.
I would like to put this on record.
Dun.
I would watch the movie that is about the 70-year-old massage.
Yeah, 75-year-old massage. No,
75-year-old
guy just-
massage from the
guy-
School Marm.
I've got something for you. And he pulls out like lotion. He's like, get over here. Gives him a massage.
70 years
Marty.
later.
Guys, we can't talk about that movie.
Western Union
Lower,
massage services.
Anyway,
This movie is distributed by
Thanks, Corey.
Universal Studios, who are known for such small independent films as The Birds, Madagascar, and Bruce Almighty. Director Robert Zemeckis, known for Polar Express, Castaway, and Romancing the Stone, which...
Romancing the Stone, baby.
So
we all know
if you
what that
haven't
really
seen that
meant.
movie,
Can we
pause
do
this
an
episode, go watch Romancing
I want
Should
to
I,
do like
should I leave now? Or?
I want to do like an oldies month where we just do like these classic oldies movies.
yes.
Romancing the
Sounds
Stone
great.
is fabulous. It's totally wild and you have to have suspension of disbelief, but it is fabulous.
And that's also a euphemism, you know what I'm saying?
Producers, Neil Canton, who is known for I love this, The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai Across the Eighth Dimension.
Yes.
Is that one whole title? That is insane.
That is one whole title.
Sounds like it.
And The Witches of Eastwick and Money Train. Bob Gale, Interstate 60, Episodes of the Road, and Used Cars. Writers, Bob Gale, known for 1941, I Want to Hold Your Hand, and still Interstate 60, Episodes of the Road, and Used Cars. Robert Zemeckis, I Want to Hold Your Hand. Welcome to Morrowind, as I lost my shit on the first day. And The Witches. Cast, Michael J. Fox from Family Ties, The Frighteners, Designated Survivor, Christopher Lloyd, Clue, also fantastic film, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, also fantastic film, and The Page Master, probably the greatest children's film of all time.
Yes.
Good.
I've never seen that.
Leah Thompson, known for... Do you say, what is that?
No,
Anyway,
I haven't seen
guys,
that either.
I've said I've
you
never
listen to
seen
Nerd
that.
On. You know the drill. We got to go. Leah Thompson, known for Howard the Duck, classic. Some Kind of Wonderful, Switch to Birth. Crispin Glover, known for Willard. Is he in this? Is he still credited in it?
I
I
think
don't
he's credited.
think-
Because I think they
So-
legally had to credit him because they used his likeness.
Yeah, I think he's
Oh.
credited.
So that means we
So we'll do it
legally have to.
Willard,
credit.
River's Edge, and American Gods, and of course, Charlie's Angels. Thomas F. Wilson, Back to the Future TV show, DC's Legends of Tomorrow, Tales of Arcadia animated series.
And Josh's Bay.
Mary Steenburgen, Melvin and Howard, Step Brothers, Orange is the New Black, and of course, Elizabeth Shue, The Saint. Dude, deep cut, The Saint. Fantastic.
I love
Shout out to my wife, loves The Saint.
I love
The
this.
Boys and Karate Kid. The release date was May 25th, 1990. Runtime is 119 minutes. Budget was $40 million. Gross was $246.1 gigawatts. $1 million. Rotten Tomatoes score is 80% with critics and 76% with the audience.
You know, actually, to your point, Josh, I'm actually astounded how many friends that I have that have never actually watched the trilogy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I have actually more friends than I thought, and it deeply disturbs me. It deeply disturbs me. I'm just kind of like, it's kind of like when Caitlin says
It's just
she
like,
doesn't
who
know
hurt
what
you?
It's kind of like when Caitlin says, I don't know what the Page Master is. And I'm like,
I said I
Caitlin-
haven't seen it. I know what it is.
Caitlin,
Have something better on me.
oh man, anyways, this is not the episode. But
But now
I
we're going
don't-
to do one on the Page Master.
I don't own a lot of physical copies of things, but this is.
for our
This
audio
is one of
listeners, he's
those-
bringing out the Blu-ray.
I have the Blu-ray.
okay.
Oh, I'm going to
Nice.
get mine. Mine's right here.
For our audio
go on.
listeners, Corey's taking off his headphones and getting the
Everyone's doing show and tell now because they're
Yeah.
like, I like the movie.
and they're like,
My-
I'm on video.
My doc.
For everyone on audio,
Funko.
he's pulling up his Funko.
I just said it.
For everyone on audio, Josh just yelled at me.
Josh, we could be friends.
Hey.
Ooh, what,
I got
yours
that
is like the
steelbook.
Steelbook? Yeah.
Oh my god.
Ooh,
So Corey has
sexy.
Steelbook
You guys are
version.
nerds.
30th anniversary trilogy. Bro.
Ooh, I have the
Caitlin, you're
25th.
just mad.
Did I say it was a
shall we-
negative connotation?
You did.
So favorite parts. Favorite parts.
Favorite parts, favorite characters, and then we'll do our qualms and rating.
I like the movie and I like the cast and it was good.
So my
that's
favorite
initial.
parts, since we're supposed to be specific, is
The movie.
the doc and the shot of whiskey.
Oh,
Oh,
the wake up
I-
juice.
It's pretty great.
Is
It's
it-
falling
is it-
he's just
forward
been
like that.
holding it.
is it the shot of whiskey or is it the part to wake him up as well?
The whole thing that
Okay.
has to do with the whiskey.
Okay.
Falling and flipping the table.
From him pouring it to, and shout out to like the set design for when they pour the whiskey the first time and it like steams
the
off
steam,
the,
yeah.
the
The
Yeah.
bar.
table.
But him sitting there all night, everyone be like, how many has he had? It's just been holding that one all night. To him finally drinking it and the bartender trying to stop him, to the wake up juice. Like that entire bit may be
All of it.
one of my favorite parts of the entire trilogy. Like that
Wow.
whole sequence is phenomenal because not only is it hilarious, but it's also the most Marty does like on his own without having to like check in with Doc guiding him not to do things, whatever. It's like a big growth moment for Marty. So all of that tied in together is like a huge payoff for someone who watches the entire trilogy.
A small moment that, again, didn't notice until this time. They're looking over the bridge and they're hashing out their plan, and Marty's being very negative about it. And Doc goes, "Marty, you're just not thinking fourth dimensionally." And Marty goes, yeah, right. I have a real problem with that. But he says it under his breath that I'm like, I love it. I love it.
Just like there's no communicating with this man right now.
One thing I really enjoyed about this film was just the beginning. It always takes over the book end of the last film, but it continues off. And I remember talking about this in the watch along. Like, I really enjoy the film starts off in a bad place. Yeah. Where the second film starts off with like, we're jumping on this adventure. The second film starts off, it's like, how are we going to start? Like, okay, we're in it now. What's next? You're already like, what's going to happen? But then it does what I think a film needs to do, and it kind of eases you in slowly.
Yeah.
Where Marty takes Doc back to his house, and it has this like wonderful score. It's raining. It's the night.
But also the
that's what I love
very
about it.
slow credit scene. Like, I love
Yeah,
that you're
the slow
getting
music.
details. Like, I love that Marty is sleeping with his feet propped up on the hoverboard.
On the hoverboard.
Yeah,
And
and
it's just
Howdy
like-
Doody Time starts.
Well,
And that's
also,
how he knows it's the next day or whatever. He's like, he knows exactly what howdy doody time.
yeah, you also don't appreciate it until you watch it multiple times, but it's like, it's opening on Doc, really. It's showing you his mansion. He's living alone. This giant house of his, and he works out of a shed or whatever. And so I think that's setting up, the whole plot of this, which is like, he's looking for love now. That last piece of his puzzle, he's living alone all this time, and it's quiet, and you feel kind of sorry for the characters right out the gate, even though there's nothing really going on yet. But I really dug the intro. It's it humbles you. It humbles them. It
Yeah, and
humanizes everything a little bit.
it also
Resets.
it brings back the hoverboard, because it's like, did Marty just leave that
Yeah.
shit? And it's like, no, he took it with them.
No, it's like we
but
built
al-
this universe. This is all here.
And also, like, just as like, I'm back from the future, blah blah. And then Doc is like freaking out. And he's on the piano, and then the
organ
notes.
the organ, and it goes up in key. And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
that's so good. And then also the part is like, he freaks out, and then I forget exactly what he says, but he just like says some gibberish and slams the door, and it's like
Yeah,
this
he's
like
just, like, he's
teenager
freaking out.
moment. And it's just like,
Same kind of way that he did in the first one.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's I think it's just really the opening sequence for me gets me really well. I think it's probably my favorite opening sequence of the trilogy. Because it had everything going for it, right? All they had to do was just not fuck it up. So like it's
Just don't mess up.
I mean, the
and
first
then you're
movie has a lot of
fine.
pressure. The second movie has to live up to that, and the third one's like, cool, we're ending it. Just don't fuck up. And it's like, all right, easy. So, and they do it really well. So, other favorite parts?
Oh man, anything with Clara.
Oh,
Clara was just great because like she
she was
could've-
she was original
she-
Kagome.
yeah. Oh God, she kind of is. Oh my God, she's got the black hair and he's got the white hair, and
Mhm.
all right.
And time
A little bit
displacement.
of switch of him being from the future and her being from the past. Wow, you're totally right. I'm upset.
Isekai
about how
Lord over
accurate
here.
that is.
Okay, no.
Anyway, I just like that. Like I guess I didn't really think about her backstory very much until I watched it this last time. But she was like sick, and it makes sense that she cared more about like thinking beyond just her immediate space of like wanting to look at the stars and reading Jules Verne and, you know, expanding her mind more because she was sick as a kid. So she was like very confined
Like
when she was
experience
young.
life.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
She was supposed to die off a cliff.
Yeah, she was supposed to die off a cliff,
not
and
knowing how to-
instead she,
Right, or she lost control of her chariot.
yes. But yeah, all the things to do with her and how Doc was being like kind of a kid about like, I want to fall in love. I'm not going to fall in love. Love is dumb. Blah. And then he meets Claire and he's like, oh,
Oh,
hi. Like I just thought all of that was cute.
I love that the DeLorean has white wall tires.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And that
They had.
Yeah, no,
They have
I
to
know.
go get the new DeLorean. Yeah.
And then the as Ollie remarked on the stream, that the whole thing that covers the front of the car, for some reason I can't think of what it's called.
The hood.
The hood
The
of the
spoiler
car
or the-
is supposed to replace a tiny microchip.
Oh,
I
yeah.
thought it was-
Oh yeah.
I like those.
Just because he doesn't want to get a microchip from Japan, right?
No, I don't think
they
it was
didn't
made.
Technology
exist
doesn't
then.
exist.
In
Yeah.
55.
Like that's how far technology has come. Like something that used to
in
fit on the hood of a
35
car is now something smaller than you can even like really hold in your hand.
yeah,
30 years,
computers
yeah.
back in 1955 were the size of like
That's what it was
houses.
pointing out. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You had to have like light bulbs and like
Yeah.
if you look at pictures of like the first
That-
computer or the first
Let's put it this
calculator,
way.
they're like
That
an
was a
entire room.
microchip.
That
Yeah.
was a microchip. Yeah.
That was tiny. But they did have that line where he's like, "What do you mean all the best things come from Japan?"
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because he doesn't have the context yet.
No, because it didn't happen yet.
I also really enjoy when they're discovering what happened to Doc Brown at the beginning. Wow, good job, Kelly. What happened? And like he's like, Marty, please don't stand there. And then he like jumps off the body. Is that kind of stuff. And then I think this is the first time we meet Copernicus. Right?
Mm-mm.
Copernicus.
Copernicus
No,
was
he's in the second film.
He's the
Second film?
50s.
He's the dog in the second film.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Copernicus.
Copernicus,
His first dog.
Because
Yeah.
first it's
It's his-
Ein,
it's
and then
his
it's
first dog.
Copernicus, and then
Yeah,
it's
and
like
then the
okay.
second dog.
So it's stuff like that where it's like you get a little bit more of that 1955, but then just enough of like let's go back to 1895.
Right.
Go ahead. I feel like there was a little bit of Midnight Cowboy, Midnight
Oh
Cowboy.
yeah, absolutely.
Where-
I'm sorry, this is the second film, but you just reminded me of how sad Einstein is when his bed is flipped over and he can't get in it.
Oh, yeah.
So he has to flip the bed over and then he just curls up inside. And you're like, he was just crying for his bed.
Sorry, Copernicus.
But Midnight Cowboy, if you don't know it, people who are watching at home, it opens up on this sequence, and I remember this so vividly from film studies. And it really talks about reality, and it's talking about our perception of it, and it's made like slight homage in this where they have to go to the past, the Wild West, and it's like, so if I drive, I'm not going to run to those Indians. That's the quote. I'm not saying it, but he's like, no, they won't be there. You'll just be in another place. And then when he does, he has
Native Americans.
Native Americans on horseback. So I thought that was just like interesting, where the levels of reality, especially that they're doing this in a movie theater or in a drive.
Well, and obviously there's homages to stuff like that. Great Train Robbery, Fistful of Dollars, ton of stuff.
Yeah.
That is just movie homage.
I love the freezer. I love the ice maker.
Oh my gosh, that was great. All of
and
his
it's a dirty-
inventions
it's
in
like
that barn
it's like
were
brown
amazing.
ice.
It's a brown ice.
no
Stay away
clean
from the
water.
yellow ice.
right.
Also, I like Marty's great uncle or great grandpa, who's like just super nice.
Seamus,
Oh,
Yeah,
Seamus,
Seamus.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Who feeds him rabbit and he has to spit out
who
the
looks
buckshot.
like a halfling from Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. a little
And
bit.
somehow his mom is there.
Lorraine.
I wanted to point this out last episode where we were talking about strong genetics. And then we
strong
were like,
genetics.
so Lorraine's in the family? Question
And
mark.
she,
Yeah.
she
Just has
took
very
just
strong
enough
likeness.
of a left turn
Will
like a generation or two, and then she came back.
I would
Well,
still be
right.
So
second
that's why
cousins.
it's fine.
Yeah.
But,
It's strong genetics. That's what you do to keep the bloodline strong.
I'll go into that later. The frisbee scene, the dance with the gun,
Far Out?
the reenacting like the arcade.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Back to the Future 2. But yeah, the far out line kills me every time. He's like, frisbee, far out. And he walks away and his uncle's like, what does he mean far out? And Lorraine goes, I don't know. It's right in front of him.
I do like the coroner guy who's making the suit in the coffin. Who's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Your measurements, Mr. Eastwood.
Oh, Tom
like-
loves that guy.
You
love-
you
I
have
don't
a
know why.
measuring tape and are good at measuring. Let's give you the two jobs that involve measuring. That's
Yeah.
tailoring and coffins.
Well,
So
the
I
Undertaker would do both.
I
Because he would
said
also
in
have
last
to-
episode that
Do both.
a detail, like an important kind of detail that I had missed for years and years and years.
Mhm.
In the second one, they're talking about this car wreck that happened with a Rolls Royce, and I
Oh,
didn't
yeah.
notice that at the end, he would have T-boned the Rolls Royce. It never
Ruined his back. And
Wow.
never would have
broken
occurred.
his hand.
It never occurred to me until this time
That was the moment.
that was the
Really?
moment that they were, and it was a Rolls
Wow.
Royce. Like it just never I was just
You
like,
didn't
Back
connect
to
the
the
dots.
Future. This is fun.
Well, she
just-
called it in the second one, I think they called it a Bentley.
No, they said
No,
Rolls
they
Royce.
said Rolls Royce.
Yeah,
I
I
could have
made.
sworn she said
I
Bentley.
said a Bentley on our
Oh.
stream,
Yeah.
and was corrected, and I was like, "Why is that important?" Oh,
Oh.
No,
Because we all at
point.
the end, Tom and I both went, Rolls Royce.
Yeah. No,
And Josh was like,
Like, why are you correcting that? Oh.
No, and like Corey and I
Oh.
did talk about it on our watch along, where it was like it was interesting. In the second one, they introduced this. Like in the first film, Marty's development is he has to learn to accept rejection, and then understand who his parents are. And in the second film, they introduced this arc of a character of you can't say no to chicken.
Yeah.
And
he's prideful.
He's prideful. And it's Napoleon complex, or you want to call it, right? And in this film, they conclude it where he, Seamus is the one's like, it's just a word, it's just like, hey, just fucking chill out,
Like
man.
That
It's not-
his brother being shot and killed. Because
Yeah, it's not worth it. And
No one cares, thinks less of you. No one will think less of you.
and it happens where at the very end of the film, or the climax ish, where against Mad Dog, what the fuck is his name?
Bannon.
Bannon. I was
Bannon.
gonna say Mad Dog
Bannon.
Burfy.
Mad Dog 10.
Burfy?
Burfy. I was
Mad
like, Biff?
Dog
Murphy?
Cannon.
bad
Mad
dog,
Dog
Beto.
Couldn't pick a name, so I just
Burfy.
connected two things.
Burfy.
And he uses his wit instead of violence. Like there's still some violence. It's that Hollywood violence, of like we're not really, but we did have.
and I punch.
We've had drive-bys in the
Two.
last few films, and you almost
Yeah,
got
I'm just
hung
going
this
to put his head through a cement slab. That's all.
film. Yeah.
Not real violence.
And then bury his head in shit.
yeah.
Also, I would have to mark. I did feel like, I don't know, maybe I feel like Universal or that film lost a fucking deal with Nike, and I don't know. They just
Oh, yeah, 'cause they're,
shat
like,
all over
washing-
Nike's
walking
shoes.
through
Nikkei,
poop.
what are thems?
What are they like? They didn't have to mention that, but they did because one, it's a time displacement thing, but also him stepping and shit. I'm like, did you guys lose? Did you guys get a less of a?
Did you look
credit?
it up?
No, but it just feels like when Matt Ryan from Constantine left NBC and went to CW, he's like, get me a peacock tail or feather, and then he just uses it to scratch his back and he fucking chucks it away. He's like, I'm good. Like it's one of those like, this feels like that. Yeah,
Everyone's going to pay so much attention to any type of brand usage in things anymore.
Yeah. I mean, in the first film, like Lorraine's holding or everyone's holding cans with the label facing outwards. Like, who
Coke
does
and being
that?
like,
Who does?
Drinking. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, what?
my Coca-Cola?
Pepsi free, not Coca-Cola.
It's like us going, did you notice my headphones? I mean, are my headphones on straight? I mean,
Nope, they didn't lose it.
Okay.
Um,
Weird.
I wanted to
Just
bring
cool
up a
with-
couple
They were
of
just cool with being part of one of the largest trilogies of all time.
That makes sense, I guess.
I wanted to bring
Josh,
up a couple of fun facts that I had found that I thought were really, really interesting. I just want to point out that Bill Nye is a
Science
part
guy.
of the Back to the Future universe.
What?
After the movies, the adventures continued into Saturday morning cartoons, and there were live action scenes in which Doc Brown was in, and his
Christopher
lab
Lloyd, yeah.
assistant was Bill Nye. His
Holy
character's
shit.
name
Lab assistant.
was Bill
Nice.
Nye.
Holy shit.
And then the I thought was interesting is that they were allowed to shoot the film where they did as long as they kept the set pieces there for a potential like tourist thing or even filming. A few years later, those sets burned down in a huge fire.
Oh.
What do you think it was started by? A lightning strike.
Oh.
Hey.
That's
Hey.
so cool. I mean, any way to go, that's the way to do it, I guess.
They should have fucking got backdraft in the but
Another fun fact is if you watch the shirt that Doc is wearing in Back to the Future 2,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
Trains and Cowboys. It's a yellow button up, and when you go back in time, his bandana is a part of that
tie.
shirt. That's
Yeah.
all faded, and
Mhm.
thought that was wonderful.
I mean, also
touch.
just going straight into the spoiler of it. A time machine that's a train,
It was so cool.
pretty
though.
baller, and it
It was
flies.
really
It's pretty much a
And
bat
it
wing.
flies. Yeah.
It's pretty much the Batwing. Yeah, and how it ends with the destruction of the DeLorean is like pretty fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Okay.
A few little trivia bits about this film. I know that Clint Eastwood was asked permission to use his name, and he thought it was awesome. He loved it. He loved the idea of going back in time and using Clint Eastwood as like that's all you can
As
come
a
up
setup.
That's awesome.
with. The scene where Biff, Mad Dog Tannen, tries to lynch Marty, they accidentally hung him, and he became unconscious for a few minutes. Michael J. Fox.
Yikes.
Someone was not paying attention. The guy, what's his name? Thomas F. Wilson performed all of his own horse stunts
Nice.
Oh.
because he
See, Caitlin?
was trained in
Your bay.
in that. And the first scene where Marty goes back in time is powered by a bolt lightning strike. The clock tower appears in all 3 films. So, the lightning bolt. Fun times.
Yeah.
Nice.
Fun times.
Man.
Other favorite parts, Ollie?
I loved the train sequence at the very end.
Yeah, I was just about to say.
Exciting. I love the 3 different temperature logs or
Yes,
whatever.
it's-
Yes, the
wonderful
smoke was
visually.
It
so
really
cool.
builds up very literally builds up that tension.
Green, yellow, red.
Yeah, green, yellow, red. One of my favorite lines, and something that I used to quote a lot, and just because my brother would laugh at it every time, was Doc, the red log's about to blow. Like I would just randomly quote that.
Is
Is this a holdup? It's a science experiment.
It's my experience.
I also really enjoy any Doc and Clara moments.
Yes.
Yeah.
Especially when they go look at the stars.
Oh,
And he says, like, I remember when I wanted to be a kid, I want to be Captain Nemo. And then she's like, damn it, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, and to me, I think there's also a very true answer where he's like, well, I still feel like a kid when I read the book. And I think that's kind of that magic moment that you idealistically want to have that's romanticized in Hollywood of, companionship where you get to be a child, but also be in your, full faculties of being an adult and understanding, courtship and companionship. That I think was just done really well. And, I think we all talked about it so far in this trilogy of how Christopher Lloyd plays this crazy, charismatic, but also very endearing person. And now we get to see the love side of him, the puppy dog eye kind of thing. And it's good. It's good. It's great.
It's good. It's good.
good. Man, I gotta give a shout out to always upping the ante with the ending of these movies.
Yeah.
Because first you're like,
You thought
oh
that
my
was the climax?
God, that was crazy. Wow. The DeLorean has done something else. And in this one, it's just a fucking train, a flying train. And also,
They went,
I
hold my
love
beer.
that they chose a
Yeah.
train because, like, that is kind of the final thing that brings Doc and Clara together. It's like that was the adventure that brought them together. So I can only imagine the discussion that happened. This is my headcanon, by the way. That like they talked about like, this was the adventure that brought us together. Let's go on our next adventures in a train too. Like they could have chosen anything. I'm sure
Yeah.
they popped all over.
So
like,
how is he a
creation.
doctor or a Doctor Who man?
Oh yes. Okay. So my theory
Oh god.
is that like so
Buckle
there's
up.
a thing in Doctor Who where it is possible to become Time Lordy by
Okay.
traveling through time.
Okay.
So what if, because Doc is like wanting to travel all through time and space and discover the meaning of life, what if he's pinging around different planets too?
Mhm.
So what if he's the first Gallifreyan?
Is that a doctor thing?
Yes. So
Okay.
Doctor Who is from Gallifrey. So
Oh,
like
okay.
what if he's the one that starts Gallifrey and then like various people that he like meets through his adventures in time are the people that populate Gallifrey. They all become Time Lords and their ultimate enemy is the Daleks. What if that's actually Biff?
A universal Biff?
A universal Biff.
Is he a machine? Is that what you mean?
I can't explain more for reasons.
I was
but
like, because
For reasons.
isn't
Yeah.
the whole thing that it's like human nature versus machine is what the Daleks represent?
yes. Yes. But what if Biff is like the cause behind the Daleks?
Ah,
Well, I would say Doc is messed up because Doc isn't afraid of Biff and the doctor is afraid of Daleks. So
True. But it could also be like Whatever, it's my theory. Let me
Okay,
have it.
hey.
I ain't here to poke
Hey,
holes.
whoa, you didn't
Don't poke
ruin my
holes in it.
trilogy. It's okay.
I haven't thought it through all the way, but it is my little like headcanon like, what if it was like this?
I dig it.
Sorry.
I dig it. Are we about to
Moving.
transition into favorite characters?
You got a last one.
It feels
sounds
that
like.
way.
I just have one last thing.
So favorite
Because we are on the
characters.
third episode of the third movie for the third movie.
For the third
One of my
time.
favorite parts of this trilogy is the ability to watch it back to front.
Yeah.
I get it for preparing for this episode. Like we did the Twitch stream in which we spent a day and we watched all three back to front.
1, 2, 3.
And I love that experience of like the one bleeds into the next one and into the next one. It's a fun experience to see that. And
Shout out to Zack Snyder.
I was gonna say there's another trilogy that's supposed to do that, but some fucking asshole fucked it up. Anyways,
but yeah, so I dug that. That's my last like favorite. It's more of an overarching favorite thing.
This is a good trilogy.
yeah,
Favorite
and also
characters?
It's a great trilogy.
just also to that last point, like it's a very good conclusion. It's a very good
Yeah. It
like,
is.
hey, we're done, and it ends off just like the first one, where it's like, do I want more? But I got everything I wanted.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if I need any more.
A trilogy, it reflects the first movie because the first movie you have a completion, of a arc and a story, and then it leaves you wanting more. And
to
this
formula.
trilogy is the same thing. It's a complete story that at the end leaves you wanting more.
Back to formula. Anyway, so favorite
Back to-
characters. Corey, you want to go first?
Yeah, this one is a change of lineup here. For me, this one's Marty for sure. I mean, it's very Marty centric on him. He's
got a lot of weight.
I mean, they all are, but for this one, he really moves the story along as opposed to Doc being like, "We got to keep going, we got to keep moving, Marty. You can't talk to these people," because Doc just doesn't listen to himself anymore. So Marty's got to step up.
Twitter pated.
Yeah, no, I get it. But fabric of space-time is anyway. So Marty moves everything along, and has some of my favorite moments in this movie. I love the homage to Fistful of Dollars, and stuff like that. And his, you complete his arc in this film, which is really nice. Or at least the one that was established in 2, with the Bentley hashtag Rolls Royce. And then 2 would
Hashtag
have
not
to
my
be Doc.
Bentley.
Still Doc though, in this one, especially, like you said, the 1955 Doc is especially my favorite in the trilogy. If I had to pick a Doc to be my favorite,
So scared.
so scared, but also the Marty, don't stand there. He's like, oh. I think it's wonderful. So to end the trilogy with the 2 of them, I gotta give a shout out, prop up to Marty and Doc.
I think that's mine also for a lot of the same reasons. And you just get I think you get the best sense of their relationship, and it's sort of, you've been with them for so long that it's really cool to see them sort of interact with each other in this one.
Yeah, like that sweet moment where he's like, "I told you not to come here, but
And they hug.
I'm really happy to see you."
And also
like,
just like thinking about, speaking of like unmade movies of this trilogy, like the whole idea of like getting struck by lightning, you don't know where you are. Well, you probably do. The thing says, right? So it's 1885. You maybe are believing it, and then you quickly realize you are in 1885, and then he has to like make it to Hill Valley and make a name for himself as like, and like become the scientist somehow and have a like give
He's
him
a
props.
blacksmith.
Blacksmith?
Shoesmith.
Shoesmith? Blacksmith. Oh, yeah, he was a blacksmith. So like props for him, like
he did shoe a horse,
making it work, making it work in the Old West. Like, I don't know if I would have necessarily made it that far.
Well, when you're a scientist who deals with like quantum physics and time travel, I'm sure finding a profession in the Old West isn't too.
Oh, dude, I would be
hard.
bringing in sundials, be like, "Yo, time, I got you guys." Like, I would be like, "Oh, that's what I do to like, get you guys off my back."
Wait, they
what's an
had
invention that I can kind of put together?
They had time. They were putting up a giant clock tower.
Don't worry, man,
They
I got
had
you.
time, Tom.
I'll figure out
They
some
were
other things
using
I can
fucking
do.
would show up, they'd be
sundials.
like,
they had pocket watches.
yeah.
They
Let's
had
poke
like,
a little hole in
No,
Tom's
clocks used to just
guy.
be.
I'm the
Clocks
one
used to
like,
be
let
for
me show you
entertainment.
sundials, and they'd be like, "Get the fuck out of our town."
Who's this guy?
not engines.
So for me, I think Clara and the Doc are my favorite in this. I enjoy them both very much.
Yeah.
That is all.
I think for me, it's Marty, Doc. Marty, just because, like, yeah, he is in a way he has to shepherd everybody. And I think that's really kind of cool. Like, in one could not have happened, like, unless Marty had to listen to Doc at certain times. And then this entire film is that Marty is having to just be like, Doc. And they have that moment, when they're camping outside, and Doc has
Or the reverse shot from the first one where Lorraine comes
into
to the
garage.
garage, and now Clara's coming into the garage, and Marty's like, Doc.
And also shout out to Michael J. Fox booty.
Oh yeah, got a little butt action in there.
Yeah, a
Make
little
my
booty.
day.
And
Oh man,
and then Doc. I also, in one thing with Doc is at the very end is when Jennifer, played by Elizabeth Shue, says, Doc, this paper, it disappeared. And that's what I was going to say with the delineation between 1955 Doc and then 1985, or as Caitlin wants to call him, the Universal Doctor. He's much more wise. He's also much more risky. He's the one willing to jeopardize the time-space continuum by reading what's in the letter. What the hell? He's the one that says, like, why, if we're going to make a time machine, why not do it in style? If he wants to travel the universe, he might as well do it with the family. He says, I think one of the greatest things is like, history has yet to be written. And it's one of those like, la, 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 it's like the moral of the story.
Theme.
I do have to give two special little shout outs.
I'm not done
One
with
to
this
the clock tower for being a pivotal part of this story, and two to Strickland, like Wild West
slackers.
Strickland.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it looks so good with a mustache.
Oh, he looked
He's
great.
Wyatt
I
Earp.
would watch an entire movie about that.
And what does he say to his son?
Never give him an inch.
What was it? Discipline.
Discipline.
Is he supposed to be, or do you think just kind of like a nod to?
Well, I think that's how the
Or-
family
The whole family.
what
becomes
Tom said.
involved with discipline. Oh, sorry.
Of
Sorry.
what?
Of being modeled after Earp.
Probably.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
A black, black suited, guy with a giant
handlebar mustache.
Yeah. But also, and to that point, like this, the unintentional message of the film is genetics, yo.
Yeah.
Genetics are strong. Josh.
My favorites are Marty and Seamus. Marty, I just
can see that.
I do like his individuality in this, his more sense of self. I love the scene and the shootout scene where I'm a sucker for standing up to a bully and that just outwitting
you're
him
George
in that way. And then Seamus, I just like he's the voice of reason and kind of teaches the lesson that Marty needed to learn of just
And
even
then
just planting the
give him the
seed.
gun. He's like, maybe I'll buy a new hat.
Yeah. That's what it is, everyone. No guns, just hats.
Yeah. But yeah, that's it.
So now we get to qualms. So I want to do a Josh thing. In the last episode, he said this was a qualm, but it's not a qualm. It wasn't a qualm. It was more of like a, I understand it. Because it was really weird that I remember so they go back to October 25th in the first film. And then in the second film, they go to October 26th. Because it quote unquote has meant that
Day
him and
after.
Jennifer had gone on their trip, but yet the truck is still there, which is weird. And then in the third film, they go back to October 27th, the morning after, because they left Jennifer on a port on the swing set. So it would have been the next morning. So she would have been like, "Oh, everything that happened was all a dream." But Marty still just explains to her, "It's a time machine. Time machine shit happened." And she has no that was the past. That was the future. And so that's why she brings in the paper, which I really love that moment, which always felt really weird. But I guess in chronologically speaking, they had to go the next day. And I've always been like, why don't they just come back at the exact moment they left? And it always just boggled me, but it's not an issue for me anymore because I just don't give a shit.
I think that's the only way they
Well,
can
that's a
have
good
the character.
reason.
I think it's just a writing thing, wanting to have that scene with Jennifer and Marty, and just to really nail home.
Well,
the
they had to go
explanation of the
to
plot.
October 27th because they had to pick up the Einstein and then the Jennifer that are time displaced. Because because they are literally not, because before this movie concludes, technically the bad 1985 timeline is like still changing around them.
Mhm.
So it's weird.
Yeah.
I got some qualms. The minor one that doesn't really change anything for me is the Lorraine being
mom.
and
Lorraine
like
being mom.
yeah.
Or not mom, but the wife
And
of
I would
Seamus.
have for me I would have preferred if she was and then
Elizabeth Shue.
someone else was
They should have
Seamus.
done that. That would have been funny.
Yeah, I think they
but
wanted to
equally
repeat
gross,
the whole thing, obviously.
Yeah, and I would have been bothered if it was
Equally
Crispin
gross.
Glover also, because then you're like, well, what?
What's happening?
Whose side is this? Whose side of the family are you? So it just is. It's a little thing. It doesn't bother me because it does give us some wonderful split screen moments with Seamus and Marty and stuff like that.
For the visual gag, yeah. But then if you
and
think
you get
about
the whole waking up, you're good. 1885.
it's the same visual thing. But then also, to your point, if they had it somewhere else, you could have had Marty been a Seamus in a picture. It's like he got shot because he got cold chicken.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't, in terms of like, do you want more visual richness of more of this interplay shit? Or do you want like correct timeline continuity shit?
Yeah, exactly. So it's one that doesn't change the score for me whatsoever. It's just one of those things that every time I watch it, I'm like, doesn't make sense.
It's like for the shtick, but it doesn't. It's almost a bit too much.
Sacrifice everything for the bit, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another qualm of mine is actually the train sequence at the end. Not the time traveling train, the literal how they get back
real
to
train.
the future. I can't explain. With the first film, for instance, the build up on that, everything seemed to move and the pace was there. And while he was struggling with the lightning, and then he pulls one down there, and then he's got to like streamline down, and it's a shorter amount of time, I understand. But like with the train sequence, a lot of it seemed a little contrived, I guess. Like they were stretching it out on purpose, and it takes that tension away from me. And I feel like that whole segment is almost 2 minutes too long.
Whereas like also with Back to the Future Part 2, Biff is about to like annihilate Marty. And that's a fucking car about to obliterate him.
Right. And so it doesn't hit me quite the same as the tension and built at the end of the other two films.
It's much more adventure-y than tense. Where it's
but
like
for
tension
me, I
isn't
don't know if that's a
on-
good thing.
yeah, it's like
for me, I kind of know exactly what you're talking about in the sense of like it's twofold. But originally, like it doesn't feel like Marty's necessarily in any trouble. Right?
No,
He's
that's what I
comfortably
wrote
at the
here. I
front.
said also Marty has nothing to do
Right.
except yell back at Doc.
Right.
Yeah.
The red
About
light's
the
about to
smoke
blow.
that he can
Right.
already see.
He can see because it's color coded. But I guess it's warning you on the jolts or whatever. But still, which by the way is another thing of like them holding onto the train as well as they do while it's going that fast.
Actually,
But yeah, there's definitely some like
they use the same formula of like having the very frequent cuts, which is very effective. But when you
Right.
take that
It's
all
too
away, you're
long.
like, it's also just
I would have almost I guess I can kind of, if you're done with that qualm, Corey, I can kind of merge it into mine, which is kind of like I would have loved a bigger and grander finale since it was also the finale of the trilogy. Like I wanted, but because you can make the argument both ways. Like his interaction with Biff at the end is like almost perfect, right? But in a sense, I almost kind of wish like maybe this is just how the action movies I'm desensitized now, but like I wanted them to have like some like Biff and Marty have some fight at the top of the clock tower while it's still under construction. You know?
Yeah, that sounds like your action
like-
movie bullshit. But
Yeah, but like or just something to like a slightly grander scale. But that's
It
just
would've-
my, that's just my
that-
modern movie
yeah,
voice.
I was gonna say like
Kill
that would have destroyed all of Marty's development, but also I get what you mean because it's
just something
not-
a bit more bombastic, something a bit more to cheer for.
I
that
think-
I would have.
and
I
I
think,
can merge
like-
mine into this because my biggest qualm was that Clara became useless.
She
She
got
is
Trinitied.
that 2 minutes.
True.
That was
don't mean to
stretched
sound.
out.
I can build mine into that as well when
Yeah.
you're done.
So what bothered me so much is like, yeah, that whole thing was stretched out of like the tension that we're supposed to be experiencing about like everything has to be perfect to get them all back. But what we ended up dealing with was like, oh no, I got on a horse and I got off a train, got on a horse, followed a train, jumped off of a horse onto a train, almost got jettisoned off of the train, somehow climbed all the way forward so that I could call and yell and pull the horn. And the second I have to like go where there's still kind of solid footing, but it's the front half of the train and not the back half of the train, and there's actually railing that I can hold on to, I'm scared.
Yeah.
Where the fuck did that come from? I'm sorry. That just killed it for me.
Yeah.
And I was like, why not have her be involved in the like trying
Making it
to
work, making it
help
succeed.
make it work? And then there's some hijinks where she ends up helping rather than just like all of a sudden I'm falling
I'll
off
tell
and
you
oh
why.
no, my dress might rip.
I'll tell you why.
Do it.
And I blame this on the writers. Clara is not a very good character. She is always needing to be helped
Damsel
from
in
the first
distress.
minute we meet her. She's
Yeah.
a damsel in distress. And while she's, book smart and lovely, it's a continual needing help from the beginning at the dance scene, at the end of the film. She's there to have Doc have moments. And my issue isn't with the character or the actress, because I think she played it wonderfully.
they're-
But
they're
my issue
great.
is with the writing of her.
How
I
she's
don't
written
think
in.
I think they were like, well, we just need some sort of conflict for Doc. Let's make someone
The
who
moments
needs his help constantly.
between where she's a strong character, that's what I like about her. And then there's like, oh no, I'm a help. I'm
Well, the thing is,
scared out
like,
of
yeah,
nowhere.
I would argue that she's an intelligent character, but she's not a strong one, and that's my big qualm.
Yeah.
Is that she can't really do anything on her own.
Yeah,
She's not
that
like Lorraine.
Definitely bothered me.
Lorraine
And
has
it-
a little
yeah.
bit more agency where
Yes.
like
Yes.
the times that you have conflict with Clara is with Mad Dog Tannen, but what happens? He biffs it up and just takes her away. There's no kicking of the shin. There's no back off you
I thought she
creepo.
did kick him.
It's
I think she
probably-
like jumps on top of him and then like he
yeah,
knocks
but
her
like
down to the
it's
ground.
so that
Yeah.
Doc can have that get your hands off her, and then Marty
Yeah.
fucking chucks the thing because he's about to
Yeah.
shoot Doc, and so
Yeah.
nothing happens. Which is
That's my biggest qualm of the film. I wish they had written her not like Lorraine, but more in the sense of like
Stronger.
She can stand out and hold her own against what Doc and Marty are doing. And I would have loved to have more scenes of maybe her impressing them with
Yes.
things.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted. That was,
And I think they try that with the
that's perfect.
telescope. Like, oh, look, she's smart. She has a telescope. But it would have been cool if, like, what if she had modded her own telescope? What if she had modified it? Like, oh, the picture wasn't clear enough, so I put this in it, and she comes to Doc for
if she could
Yeah,
provide like
she's-
counsel on that.
some
but
tech or something. that
they could
help
have
them.
in a way they could have. I'm just adding to like a more of like a rewrite. They could have had it where like they're scouting like the bridge, and they're like, we'll have to get closer, but she comes along, and then Marty has to do the like Doc thing, like, what the fuck is she here? And Doc's like, I don't know, but also I'm not mad about it. And then having the modded telescope thing where it's like, well, I can see it from here. It's like, blah, blah, blah. So what are you guys doing this for? Weather
Science experiment.
Weather
Weather
experiment.
experiment. Yeah.
So,
Or maybe she gave him the idea, like she says something that gives him the idea for the modified logs or something
Yeah.
like that. Anyway, I think they set her up. There's a lot of hints that she could be that type of character, but I
Yes.
think the writing
Unless-
fell short and she just kind of got put into this damsel in distress moment.
Unless
because, like you
Josh-
said, Caitlin, she's better than that. They're like the hanging
so
from the
much
train
better.
with the dress. Like,
so
come
much
on.
better.
Yeah.
unless
You're better.
Josh,
All
do
the
you-
moments
are there
leading up
any
to that, she
deleted
was
scenes?
so great. She was
Yeah.
this badass riding in on a horse that just got off a train and like made up her mind about what she wants. Like
Yeah.
just so many of these like, I could be such a
Yeah.
strong woman. And then
Yeah.
she just is
Jumping
like,
from a horse to a train right
what?
there is enough
Getting-
to where it's like you're
moving
not.
my
Yeah. But like
hand
from the first
forward
moment
to
we
grab
meet her, where
yours.
she's heading for the same ravine that she's about to fall
All
into
right.
in the end.
Pulling
Yeah.
back, Josh, is that any more qualms from Caitlin or Josh?
nah, that's my main one.
I was gonna say, Josh,
No,
is there
I'm
any
not.
deleted scenes of Clara being like doing this fucking ninja shit
Oh,
on set or something?
I have no
disappearing?
idea. I just knew of that one. No, you guys.
Josh is like, well, when I was there on set during filming,
Actually,
Actually, so wait, Josh, you don't have
I
any?
don't. My qualms were already said, so I'm not going to continue
Nice.
the thing. So
The badgering, because everyone
No.
hates this film, Josh. Okay, no. So we'll move on.
it's a
to the-
discussion.
the last part, which is going to be the rating of the film. Now, who goes first?
Tom with no votes goes first.
Tom.
Yeah.
I'm the one
Mark
with
the
the no
state.
votes.
Time to shine. You're the boy who votes.
4.9.
4.9 for Tom. Okay.
It's not the first one. It's a great conclusion. And it has its own faults.
So it's equal to 2 in your eyes.
Yeah,
All right.
it's equal to because that
next
means
would
both of them
be
are not as good as the first one. And
Caitlin?
that's where I want to leave it.
I hesitate on this score because I enjoy it so much.
You can say 5.1. It's okay.
4.7. I feel like there's
okay.
a lot that could have been there's some uncomfortable stuff in it. There's a lot that could have been tweaked to make it stronger, to give it more oomph. It doesn't hold the same. I feel like 1 was like just perfect. 2 was like, that was really fucking good. 3 is like, this was entertaining, but it wasn't
happy
like,
how it ended, but
I'm happy how it ended, but it's not as slick. So I got a 4.7.
Josh?
You gotta. I'm sorry. You've got to knock 0.3 or point. So I just think it's funny.
It's a lot for me, because I really do like this one.
Yeah, mine's gonna be a 4.8.
Oh.
I really, really like this movie.
I
there
gave it a
are-
higher score than you did.
Wow.
Point.
By 0.1.
He doesn't have a point. Keep
Okay,
going.
got it.
I have a 0.1.
Yeah, I was gonna say he does have 0.1. That's pretty much it.
That's the point that he has. Yes.
The gimmick of the of what the qualm that was explained of like Leah Thompson still being the mom or Marty, like that to me has always been like, I love this movie, but that has always been that like there's like a scratch right there. You know, like when you look at something that you're like, oh man, that is so pretty.
No, it's more
Is
like
it chipped on the side. Like
it's more like a smudge on your TV screen that you're like, it's it's in there.
And the directors are just like that car mechanic from Liar Liar who's like, I was here when I got here.
is that a dead pixel? No.
yeah.
Continue.
It's the only thing that like it really just every time I'm like in the second one where you have Michael J. Fox playing all these different characters, I can get on that because it's in the future. He's the dad. He's blah 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 blah. It's like, okay, I can understand that. But now we're pre that. We're pre Marty existing.
It's not imagining. It's retconning.
Yeah. So that's really the only thing that, and I hear the thing about the train sequence too, where it's not so pizzazzy. So that's where I knock it. They're pretty. Those were my qualms like directly. So now I just get to say them in my rating.
There you are. Ali, what you got?
Mine's 4.9 also, and for exactly what Josh said. It's
Caitlin.
just that very end that that kind of throws it off for me.
Kaylin, you done fucked up.
The funny thing is, when we first started this episode, I was thinking 4.9, and then I wrote right before we started recording, I wrote 4.8.
Oh shit!
And I thought for sure I was going to be the grump.
So did I.
Was I right?
I was like,
Did I say Caitlin?
you were right. You said Caitlin. Nerd on Nation, you lose.
Read my facts.
Any of them get it right?
You are fired.
Nobody got it right. Nobody guessed Caitlin. And the Nerd on Nation,
guys.
so.
Oh yeah.
No.
Year
Caitlin,
3
Nation.
anniversary. The last
Boo.
movie of the anniversary for year 3.
Way to bring us down,
Caitlin's
Caitlin.
the grump.
Wow, Kaylin.
Wow.
There you
For the
have
movie
it.
that everyone would expect me to not be the grump
Yeah.
on, because there's like Wild West.
Once again,
and steampunk.
the grump
there's
is a
adventures.
4.7, which is higher than most films on Rotten
It's
Tomatoes.
true.
So
True.
you still gave it a higher score than the audience did.
Yeah, this is a 92% technically, or
Wow.
94% for you.
Yeah.
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 I still
So,
love it a lot.
Man.
Thank you guys for joining us for our 3-year anniversary. It's super
Yeah.
exciting.
Yeah.
It-
tell us
It
Years.
kind of.
what was your favorite ones? What did you like? How weird was your childhood when you realized Lorraine was the mom?
Yeah, that was a
How much
thing.
did it damage you inside?
Yeah. Do you wear a Lorraine shirt?
Or how
Because
much did it
I
make
do.
you grow inside? No.
And in your pants.
In your pants. There it is. I had to try to.
Of course.
But no,
I
thank you
had to
guys
try.
for joining our 3rd year anniversary. We do this trilogy thing every year. If you've missed our last couple years, you can go back and check those out as well. We did the Christopher Nolan Batman trilogy last year, and we did the Lord of the Rings trilogy the year before.
Mhm.
And also,
so-
if you know people who haven't watched this trilogy yet, get them on that,
Get
baby.
them to watch it.
It's your civic
35th
Respectfully,
anniversary.
kindly.
Go
Next
get
to
them
what
to look at
happens
it.
in
Sure.
November, this is your only duty as an American citizen.
Wow.
And also
Wow.
across the world, as your duty as
lot
a
of
human
pressure.
being.
I mean, real quick with this anniversary event, if you didn't get a chance to see it, go onto our Twitch and check out. We watched the whole trilogy, and actually, just to kind of let you know, we usually every year the crew we all get together and we just sit and watch. And yes, we did it with the Lord of the Rings.
Extended edition.
Extended
Don't
edition.
tell me that you
Extended.
can't watch a
We were-
3-hour movie.
We were there for a while.
Extended.
So go watch that, and also the festivities are not done. In a
no.
couple of days, the Capeless Crusaders will be they'll be doing an episode on Back to the Future comic books. So that'll be fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, this has been our 3-episode mega marathon event for our 3-year anniversary.
It has been a blasty blast.
Yes, a lot of
It's-
fun.
It's
Um,
honestly hard to believe that we've been doing this for 3 years now.
Mhm.
And like seeing the growth that's happened in that time and like the discussions that have happened, the ways that we've branched out and up and all those different things. It's
Answering the
Kinda
universal
cool.
questions of
Yeah.
why, and then the next one is of women.
We've all I'm incredibly I've said this to the crew and I'm going to make it public. I'm incredibly grateful for our team. I've learned a lot about myself. I've grown a lot. We have amazing
Tom.
listeners and fans. Everybody's been so supportive. Anytime that life has come up where we've had to shift some things that we've said that we're going to do but have had to change, everybody has always been so supportive.
If only we had a DeLorean to go back and when we had to shift things, not shift them.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. We don't have one yet.
So
Yet.
But if
Thank-
you join the Nerd On Nation, you can help us afford a DeLorean time machine.
yeah. But thank you so much for joining us for this journey. Thank you for continuing to listen or watch if you're on YouTube.
Bye.
The business of this is, if you are new to Nerd On, thank you so much for joining us for this episode. Do check out the other 2 where we talk about part 1 and part 2 of Back to the Future. All of our episodes are available on any podcast platform that you can
Any.
think of, anywhere, everywhere. We are on YouTube. All of our episodes go to video format. And so check that out. Shout out to Julie. She edits all the
Yeah.
episodes.
And also to be extra clear, in case there's any new listeners, we have 2 YouTube channels. One is /Nerd on the Podcast, which is for the podcast. And the other one is Nerd on TV, which is for all of our gaming video content. So definitely check us out on both channels.
yes.
Yay.
Lots of good stuff.
A really easy thing to remember if you're like, oh, what are they talking about? Go to nerdon.tv. It has all of the links for everything that we do. It's a very, just right there. All of them are there, so check that out. Do consider joining the Nerd On Nation, like we have mentioned. It does allow us to grow. It does help us to a lot of how we've gotten together and been able to continue doing this content in the quarantine is a lot of assistance from our listeners and fans. They have helped us, and that's one of the reasons why we do this. It's fun, and we get to make content for you. It's a good time.
Mostly we just like to hear ourselves talk.
Yeah.
Nope.
I love hearing myself speak.
Monitoring max
Not
mode
really.
right now.
Stop by, rate and review us, share us with your friends, your family.
Enemies.
Be kind to
If you
each
didn't
other.
like us, share us with your enemies.
Yeah.
That is it. That is it. Thank you so much. We love you. You know the
Here's to
drill.
year 4.
Year 4.
Let's get in.
Tell us we're doing the Sharknado trilogy.
Right now.
We already know what we're doing next time.
I know.
You know the drill. As always,
Ending broadcast.
Nerd
Nerd
on.
on.
On.